Hello friends, and welcome to what I hope is an informative video about samplers or antique samplers, or maybe the lack thereof of an antique sampler. My name is Lisa, and this is Cross by Floss, a channel about my love and hoping to inspire you a love of cross stitch. So today, like the title says, I am actually going to talk a little bit about samplers. Now, I'm not an expert by any means, not by any means, but I have had a love of samplers for well on 40 years. And you know, I would see them when I was younger. My parents did a lot of antiquing, and we would go to not only auction sales and flea markets and, you know, garage sales and antique stores and just everywhere, abandoned homes, and find all of these really cool samplers. That was not what my mom liked, and I didn't know anything about them, and so I never bought any, and I really regret that to this day, along with some very beautiful carnival pieces, carnival glass pieces from back in the day. But anyway, so, you know, for the last, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years, I have been just very randomly collecting samplers. And as we all know, samplers have very much boomed in the cross stitch world, and the cost of samplers now has gone up exponentially. Even 20 years ago, I was able to buy a beautiful sampler for $15, $20. That's not something you find anymore unless you get real lucky. And again, I regret not buying any of those things. But, you know, with the, you know, popularity of samplers, what they are today, the cost can be a lot. And there are a lot of ways to be fooled by buying samplers. And that's not what I'm going to talk about today, because again, that's not my expertise. I don't honestly know anything about it, and I'll prove it by what happened to me. But there's a lot of places that you can buy samplers as well. Like I said, you know, auction sales, flea markets, antique stores, people on eBay and Etsy, random family members that you are able to find, you know, samplers from. And depending on, you know, what type of sampler it is, the quality of the sampler, it all can depend on how much they are. Whether or not it's a real sampler or not, depends on, you know, how much it will be. And like I said, there are some sellers on Etsy or eBay that maybe are not as honest, you know, because everybody could be looking for that, you know, quick trend dollar. And so, yeah, you can get them for almost nothing, like a steal, and you can giggle about it, or you may pay a lot of money for a sampler, depending on how badly you want it. And when I started buying samplers, I started actually buying on eBay. And I'm just going to show you a few of the ones that I purchased. This is by no means all of them. It's just what I could get to. But this is one 1877 K Varro. I can't read the rest of it. But this is one sampler that I had purchased on eBay a long time ago. Like, I've moved it here, so I know I did not buy it here. And honestly, only one, maybe two samplers I've purchased since I've moved to Ohio. And but this is a beautiful little sampler, and you can see the fading of the coloring and the wonkiness of it. I love it. I just love it. I don't know what kind of motif this is, or looks like a blanket almost. I don't know, but there's a lot of different stitches in there, and it's really beautiful. The back, that's the back. Now, I did buy this on eBay, and I did not know when I was buying. I would look at this and go, oh, that's an antique sampler. And apparently there are ways, if you watch Nicola Parkman, she goes into great detail in many of her videos on, you know, what to look for when you're buying a sampler, especially online. And so go and check out some of her videos. So that is one that I purchased. And I want to put it down gently. Here is another one that I purchased. This one here. Also, a really, sorry, got a lot of glare going on there. I'm in the process of moving rooms, and so I've got quite a mess in the front here. But this is another really beautiful sampler. And the frame, you know, when the seller was selling it, they were like, yeah, the frame's in awful condition. And honestly, it's not that bad. I mean, yes, it's chipped and it's got some wear and stuff, but I didn't think that it was that bad. But if you look, oh my gosh, that glare. You can see this little sampler here, and it's worn. It's really, really worn. And this one came with this this little postcard. Did she have a date? 1950. So it was just stuck on the back, and that's what the back looks like. Now, without taking it out, could I verify that this is an antique sampler? No idea. But from the looks of it, it sure looks like it. But I'm going to show you something on what a look was and how I got real fooled. Now here is, oh, I just want to put that down nicely. Now here is one that I recently bought, like maybe a year and a half ago. And the seller and I, now I am certain that this is an old sampler. The seller and I, we went back and forth many times. This is a beauty. This is a beauty. I love her. She is gorgeous. Her glass is not in there very good. When she came to me, she was really musty smelling. Yeah. And she's been out in the garage for quite some time. But look at those stunning colors. And I think the glass is either broken or something. I haven't taken this apart yet. And I paid a lot for this sampler, more than I had intended. And the shipping also, because, and I want to say that the first two pieces that I purchased came from the UK, and this one was here in the States. But I do want to say that I am so sorry for that glare. That's awful. But she is stunning, stunning, stunning. 1840, is that 2 or 5? 2. She is a beautiful piece, and she's got some wear. She's got some serious wear, enough so that I was concerned when I got it, and the mustiness of it, that I was thinking maybe I should take it out of the glass and see about, you know, preserving it and possibly stop whatever kind of aging was happening to it. And so those are just 3 examples, 3 small examples of a few. I probably have about 15 samplers, I think, not within reach though. And so, you know, and I pay quite a bit online for these samplers, and you hope, you know, you do your due diligence, you look at the listings, you look at the reviews, you look at how many stars they have, you know. But as we know with this new AI world, that a lot of those things can be manipulated, unfortunately. And so really it's buyer beware, do your due diligence as much as you possibly can. So I decided that I wasn't going to buy samplers online anymore, because I like to look, I like to touch, feel, check it all out, right? And so I have been manifesting, like literally manifesting samplers, and like having one land in my lap. And I had gone to a garage sale and actually met a lady who cross-stitched, and she had a bunch of samplers that were like, she had, you know, done. They were like we cross stitch. And so, but they were beautifully done and things that I would not do. And so I had purchased those samplers from her, and honestly, they were not a lot of money, you know, for the time, materials, and you know, everything, and the framing was beautiful, that she put into them. The cost was so minimal. And possibly in my next video, I will see if I can't get those out. They're also in my garage, just, you know, chilling out, getting cold, and hopefully having any mustiness or any issues are just being vacated in the garage, hopefully. But I do a lot of thrifting. And anyways, so I love these samplers. I probably bought 4, maybe 5 from her. And they're just really beautiful. And she was happy as well. She gave me a great deal because she had met a fellow cross stitcher and she knew that I was going to cherish them and love them. And so it was wonderful. But I do a lot of thrifting, you guys, and I always hope to get lucky. I really do. I do a lot of thrifting around my area, and in a lot of the antique stores, there are samplers. I live in Ohio, and there is a plethora of samplers around here to purchase. In the antique stores, they're a lot of money. If you can find somebody online and you can, you know, make a deal, fantastic. But if you're looking for them, you can find them. But I manifest them from the thrift store. I am like, one day I'm going to get lucky and it's going to fall in my lap and it's going to be great. And that happened. It happened. I was in one of our local thrift stores that I go to all the time. They know me. And it's a Habitat for Humanity. And so they don't have a lot of like housewares per se. They have a lot of building materials, but they do get, you know, some home good type items in there. And so they have like a shelf that they display these all on. And on the very bottom shelf, kind of tucked away in the corner, was a frame. And if I can find a picture of it, I will insert it here. But I was blown away. And inside it was a sampler. And I kid you not, I couldn't have run over there and grabbed it fast enough. I was shaking. And I'm looking at this thing. It wasn't mounted in the frame. It was literally just stuck in the frame. It was like it had maybe been donated, you know, just as a cloth, and somebody found a random frame and shoved it in there. That's honestly what it looked like. It was not, it wasn't pressed. It wasn't on anything. It was just like skished into this frame, right? And I am literally shaking, and I'm looking at it. I am looking at the front and I'm like, oh my gosh. And some of the stitches are wonky and they're going the wrong way. And there's some like random threads that are not quite like, you know, stuck in. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I found a real sampler. I found a real sampler. I was so excited. And I turned it over to see what the price was, and it was $1. So I am like hugging it to myself, right? And then I think to myself, just take the back off, you know, because it had those little brads or whatever on it. Just take the back off and just see what it looks like on the back. So I take it off and I look at it and I'm like, why is there white stuff on the back of this, on the back of the piece? I'm like, that's really weird. And I'm like, why would they, you know, like, were they trying to stabilize it? And I'm like, but wait a minute, stabilizer didn't come about until I don't even know when, but certainly not in the early 1800s. When was this? Yeah, 1800s. So I'm like, this is weird. But I still don't, I'm looking at the front, the linen looks like aged, everything, right? I'm like, okay, so I buy it. And I look at it and I'm like, oh, this is awesome, right? And it's $1. So I take it into my favorite framer, Paula, at Craft Gallery, and she looks at it and she goes, oh, what a beautiful sampler you just bought. That's very old. And I'm like, right? and I'm so excited. And then we start taking it apart, and the lady who does the pinning for her, and I forever forget her name. She's lovely. I love her. She looks at it and she goes, "Oh, this is machine made." And Paula looks at her and she goes, "No, it's not." I'm like, no, it's not. She goes, "No, this is a machine made piece." Okay, you guys, I was so deflated. I was so deflated. I was like, "What?" And she goes, "Yes, this white stuff on the back is stabilizer for the machine." And I said, "Yes, but how could the machine make these stitches look so like off?" And she goes, "Yeah, that is a mystery. I don't know." But she says, "This is a machine piece." And I'm like, well, dang it. The other thing is that this piece, whoever had done it, they had left no margins. Like literally there was no margins to be able to pin it, to lace it, to anything. It was like right up against that. Like somebody had literally cut the fabric out. So Paula, being the genius that she is, she did the best thing that she could. And so this is the sampler. Oh man. And I don't think that this video is going to do it justice, but look at the fabric. It's wrinkly and it's got, you know, these age spots in it. And let me see if I can see, like there's some, like in this T here, it looks very, very wonky. There's some threads that Paula didn't want to cut. That was from the machine, but there's something in here that this was the reason why I thought that it was older. Oh, where is it? And I was like, how does the machine make those stitches? Right? Anyways. But if you had seen it, Paula did a great job. So this is museum quality glass, so it's non-glare. And, but if you had seen this piece all like wrinkled up in the frame as I found it, I mean, it was just incredible. But like literally, I don't know how a machine, is it this piece here? No, that's traveled threads. There were a couple of stitches in here that literally they were backwards. Okay, so here's one in the tree. I don't know if you can see this. Like that's not even a complete stitch. And I don't know. There's some more. But anyways, and I even looked up the sampler. Like when I was in Habitat, I looked up the sampler, and it was a real sampler, like it has been reproduced. And I'm like, but this doesn't look like, it didn't look like a reproduction sampler. Yeah, so even in the windows, see, like this is a wonky stitch and these are not right. And so I was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, I mean, I looked it over as, you know, sort of as spectacularly as I could, as I was so excited, shaking for $1. But I mean, I paid $1 for this sampler. I'm, you know, look on the bright side. I paid $1 for a beautiful sampler. Also a lesson learned, like literally a lesson learned that what can look like a antique sampler is not. And Paula did like the best that she could. And because there was no margins, she had to put it on a sticky back board, and she just, you know, smoothed it out as best she could. She cleaned up some of the threads that were in there and left others because she was afraid of them unraveling. And of course, yes, did I think that this piece was in great shape for, you know, for antique sampler? Yeah, I did. But also it was, you know, really, really wrinkly and very, yeah, anyway. So, cautionary tale, when you are purchasing samplers, look them all over. Look on the fronts, on the backs. If I had just taken this at face value from the front, I wouldn't have known any difference. But because I had looked at the back and there was literally white stabilizer, it was really, it was thin and, you know, it looked like they had tried to start taking out pieces of it, but it was too much of a job. And so they decided not to. But it's a machine stitched piece. Can you believe that? Machine stitched piece. And I think, don't quote me, it's been a while since I actually looked this up, but I want to say that this was like from Pennsylvania or in around that area, I think, was where this little girl was from. And so, you know, for me being in Ohio, that's not too far. And so I was like, oh, I mean, yeah, the realm could be that, you know, that this was traveled from that area to here. And, but yeah, anyways, it's a lovely piece. I definitely paid more for the framing than I did for the piece itself. And, but I have another lovely sampler and a funny story to go along with it. But, it's just a cautionary tale. You know, if you want to get into collecting things or anything like that, you know, due diligence and really looking over the piece. And sometimes you might get taken, and but find a bright side to it. So anyways, that is my story about cautionary tale about samplers. I hope you enjoyed, and it was a good bit of information, hopefully. But didn't she do a beautiful job? Like, it is a beautiful job. And I will put some sort of card or something on the back of this, just saying that, you know, it is a machine stitched piece. It is not a real sampler, or, I mean, it is a real sampler, but it has not been stitched by, you know, by hands, and it's not old. So therefore my children are not obligated to keep it. But anyways, that is all that I have today. I hope that you enjoyed. I had to laugh. I literally had to laugh after, you know, when I discovered that, in my excitement to get something that, you know, not only is it a little deflating, and then I mean, I collect antiques. It's not like I don't know, but that you can still be fooled. So that was a little wake up moment for me, a bit, and it just, you have to laugh about it. But anyway. All right, that is all that I have. I hope that you enjoyed. I hope that if you are a new subscriber, that you will consider subscribing and clicking on the notification. And of course, if you are a returning friend, you know how much I enjoy that you come back all the time and comment. And maybe you have a story as well. Let me know in the comments. And until we meet again, hugs and stitches.